Hi everyone, I'm Will, the Paint Beast, and in this video I want to show you 9 pieces of equipment that are not only cost effective, but will help you become better at miniature painting. Hey everyone, welcome back. So what I want to go through are sort of 9 cost effective and decent, cheap little bits that you can buy to supplement your hobby that will help you get better at painting. These things, they're going to enhance your painting sessions and make it slightly easier for you to paint. They're going to extend your brush life, hopefully, so you don't have to keep buying brushes over and over again. And most of these are going to save some money as well, so I think it's well worth it. We're going to kick off with probably my favourite tool and my favourite find from other hobbyists, and that's makeup brushes. Now this is a small makeup brush set from Amazon for probably about £3, £4, and I've used these with some success, or with a lot of success, frequently. They are a very good tool to learn how to dry brush. They're very forgiving when dry brushing, and when you're using them you can create things like this with all the little gradients and stuff. You can check out this video here on how I use these little guys, and what they are for essentially is they're for training. I'd say you use these as a jumping off point to build your skills in dry brushing, and a lot of these tools I'm going to show you are exactly meant for that. So you can buy yourself a nice cool fancy set of Artis Opus Series D brushes for dry brushing, and I'd say they're definitely well worth it. But I feel you need to be able to dry brush first, and this is where these guys come in. They're a nice cheap alternative that will set you up to paint and help you learn how to dry brush. I'm going to show you, probably not that one, I'm going to show you with my trusted companion here, with my second piece of equipment. Now, all the rage maybe 6 months ago from this date was people making their own or buying their texture palettes. I don't feel as though you need to do that. You can if you want. Again, this is just a jumping off point. You can go to a company and buy or make your own texture palettes. But using a piece of wood, and this piece of wood, in fact, 4 of these same size pieces of wood cost me £1 from my local DIY store, so hardware store called B&Q. Often these sort of Home Depot like stores will have offcuts of wood like this just in a bin, and you can donate. I donated £1 to charity and got 4 or 5 bits of this, and it's perfect for dry brushing because it doesn't soak up all of the moisture on your brush. It has a texture so that when you're dry brushing you can see how much paint is coming off your brush, and it's cheap and it's easy to store. And I just think I've used this so much, and it's just proven really, really handy, and I think it's a good way of saving some money, deciding whether or not you can and like dry brushing, especially mixed with these makeup brushes, before you move on in the hobby to buy other tools. And you know, you might even stop and go, well actually no, I do like these, I don't need to get anything else. I think to finish this sort of little trifecta of useful and cheap hobby tools, this one may be slightly more expensive than the 2 that I've just mentioned, but a painting handle. And you don't have to go for the contrast. You don't have to go for the Citadel Games Workshop one. You can find lots of different alternatives. I just happen to have a voucher for a few of these, so I managed to get them. But this will really help you paint. You've got something ergonomic to hold on to. And I just want to show you how I use these 3 together to get a good dry brush. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a drop of water on my finger. This is from the water pot that I've got. Just dab it on the wooden board. Just model my brush in it a little bit. That makes it damp enough so that the dry brushing can work effectively. I'm going to take my first layer of dry brush for this guy, which you should see a video showing you how to paint this Tyranid Gene Stealer fairly soon. But today I just want to show you the tools. So we're going to put a bit of water on there, muddle that in with the brush. Get a tiny drop of this on there. We're going to turn it over so you can see. Let's use this bit here. We're going to muddle that paint in the brush, and then we're going to do this over the texture of the wood, and we can see there's not quite enough on the brush there because it's not coming off on the texture. Put some more in, muddle that in, and hopefully we'll see this time. I'll just bring this closer to the camera. You can see where that's highlighting this bit of wood here. That's perfect. So now we can go to our miniature. And we can do exactly the same, knowing what this is going to look like. There you go. And that's how, I mean, this was £8, but let's say you can get one for probably about £4 online. So £3, £1, or 20p. So £3.20 plus 4, so £7.20, and you've got your basic dry brushing set that you can use with confidence, knowing that if you like like dry brushing and are capable of picking up these skills with just the simple tools, you now know that you can move on to things that are more money without wasting it, basically. So I think that these three things are well worth it, especially for dry brushing. So I'm going to move on now to maybe the next set of 3. Actually, we're going to do a set of 4 this time. So put that paint back, put this guy off to the side, move these. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you, and you'll hear a lot about these, wet palettes, right? So a wet palette is something to keep your paint wet while you're painting, and these are really important. You'll see a lot of videos about these and how to make them and stuff, and I'll show you quickly how to make them. But I think they're really important because if you take water straight out of a pot and put it onto, I used to put it on like a plate, like a china plate, and the paint would dry out almost instantly, and you keep going back to the pot, putting the paint on the, say, ceramic surface, and it just takes longer to paint. The paint's not as smooth, the paint scheme doesn't look as good while you're painting it, and it's just not as fun. The day that I started using a wet palette is one of the days I can see in my history of 27 years of painting that in that one day my painting took a marked increase in quality. So I'd say they're very, very much worth it. This is an old Tupperware tub that we have. We get, we've got quite a few of these, whether we've had a takeaway or just found them for like really cheap in a supermarket. Inside, what you'll see is a dishcloth, like a cleaning cloth. Again, just a couple of quid, couple of dollars from your supermarket. And then this is some baking parchment. Now you need one with a particular coating, and I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head. Somebody might be able to say in the comments, and I'll put it in the description below, I think, as well. And just some of that, and this is one that I've cut into a rectangle. And the process for making these is really simple. Actually, I'll probably cut this up while we're here. You basically get your, maybe I don't need to cut it up. You get your dishcloth, you sort of shape it into the shape of the lid of the tub. We're just going to fold this in quarters actually, because that'll be easier to manipulate while I'm speaking. Actually, let's cut it in half. You're learning with me, folks. Mind your fingers. There you go. So we're going to put that, we're going to cut it in half again because it's not staying flat. Mind your fingers. There you go. We're going to put that in there, and that's going to hold our water. We're going to take some clean water, just pour that on that until it's wet, and there's a little bit of water left underneath that it can soak up once it's dry. We're going to take our baking paper, you can find anywhere, and we're going to lay that on top. There you go, and that's our wet palette. And what this will do, this will allow the water to slowly and very, very slowly, almost minutely, come through this baking parchment and keep our paints lubricated and wet for longer. And say we're painting up a big batch of miniatures and we want to keep a lot of the paint that we've mixed together. So we've done two parts black and I don't know why I'm doing this, but 1 part yellow. We can take that, mix it up on our wet palette. Let's do this. Take one of those, mix that up on here to get this sort of like cool blend. Maybe we want to do like a blend, put some in there. There you go. And we're painting a mini where we want to go from that colour to that colour. Well, it's the end of our session. We put the lid on. Now we chuck that in the fridge. And then hopefully when we go back tomorrow, that'll still be wet, that mixture, and we can use it tomorrow as well. Again, like I said, that's a cheap way of doing this. You can use an alternative one that you've probably seen in my other videos, which is this this wet palette that comes from Redgrass Games. Now, I didn't get this immediately. I only purchased that after I'd learned to make my own and used it for maybe a year just to see how it felt. And yeah, I liked it so much and it improved my painting so much that I decided to buy a professional one. Now, along with that, I'd say the next thing that will make a big difference in your painting, and it doesn't cost so much, at least in theory it doesn't cost so much, right here in the UK at the moment it costs quite a lot, is some paper towel. This is just some paper towel we had left over from our last shop. This is insanely good in your painting sessions, and I can't believe that I never used to use paper towel when painting miniatures. It's so handy for controlling your paint, and the combination of using this and this it will make such a difference in your painting. It's unbelievable. What we're going to do, I'm just going to show you quickly on who have I got. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll use this one, why not? So I'm going to take a different colour paint. I'm going to take some red because it really will stand out for this. Let's use this red here. I'm going to take some. We're going to put a little bit of water on our brush. Take some of this, put it on the wet palette. And that's a good texture even from where, from where I've put the water on the brush. It's quite thin. This is how I'd use maybe a glaze, like that. Now, I'm going to use this paper towel to control the amount of water that's on my brush. Right, and I'm going to show you on this guy. So I'm going to take this paint straight from the wet palette, right, without controlling it using the paper towel. I'm going to try and control it a little bit on the palette by wiping some off on there, and I'm now going to run it along this this bit here. As you can see, it's really watery, and there's a big pool of liquid in that, so it's like a wash. Yeah. Now I'm going to do the same again. Whoops. But I'm going to control this on the paper towel and then do the same. So I'm going to take the majority off and then paint the other side of this Tyranid Gene Stealer. As you can see, it's not pooling, but it is making the colour change. And that is probably the biggest benefit you have when you use paper towel, is it just controls the amount of water that is in the paint on the brush, and the paint, obviously, it takes some of the paint away. But it just gives you that extra amount of control when you're painting your miniatures. Now, to go along with this sort of theme of control, Sometimes when you want to mix this paint, you want to maybe, instead of mixing two acrylic paints, you want to mix, say, some contrast medium and another contrast paint, right? This is where this comes in. This cost me maybe £2. It's like a fidget thing, like teenagers would use to keep themselves occupied, or for, like, you know, anxiety relief or something. Now I can't obviously say that I came up with all of these. This is all knowledge that's out there from other people as well. I think I remember first seeing or hearing about these from Tabletop Minions, who is great. And I'm surprised if you wouldn't. I'd be surprised if you don't know who that is, because I consider my channel's a lot smaller. But Tabletop Minions put me onto this, and it is fantastic. It's great for mixing paint, and one of the main reasons for that is it's a real hassle to clean mixing trays. Like, this is my current big mixing tray. You can't get the paint out there once it's dried. You have to wait until it builds up, and then you can sort of peel it off. Whereas with this, and I think you can probably guess what I'm about to do, if you just pop it inwards, you can just peel the paint off. That one's still a little bit wet from where I used it yesterday. These ones that are more dry will just pop right out. And that means you don't have to worry too much when you're mixing paint, because you can just clean these almost without any water. Well, definitely without any water. Like, you might want to try and get these other bits here like that, and like maybe rinse it out every so often, but you know, now I don't have to worry about when I'm mixing paint in this little pot again, because, you know, I can just pop that out and get rid of the paint. And now to go along with this, so that's how we're going to mix our paint to then use it on the palette and control it with the paper towel. But these guys here are your best friends when you're mixing paint, when you're controlling the amount of paint that goes into this mixing pot. Pipettes. I got a pack of 12 from Amazon for maybe £2. And I'll show you what I do with these. So obviously you give your pots a good old shake. Don't have to suck that much up, maybe just a couple of drops. And then you say 1, 2. And I know that's an equal measurement of each of those drops has gone into that part of the mixing tray. Now we're going to take the paper towel, we're going to put the pipette just on there, we're going to slowly just squirt out the excess water so we don't dilute the paint too much. So there'll be a little bit of water remaining in there at all times if you've been using it. Shake up our other paint, and we're going to do a 2-to-1 ratio, which means we'll put 2 drops of this contrast medium in there, and we're going to put 1 drop of Pterodon turquoise in there. 1. And we know that that's an equal amount, or a relatively equal amount. So you've got 2 drops of contrast medium, 1 drop of a Pterodon turquoise. Then we're going to mix that up like that, and that's now ready to use. We want to use this as some sort of glaze. We're going to rub the brush on that, take the excess paint off, and instead of using this like a contrast paint, we want to say just glaze this part of the miniature, so the contrast paint isn't pooling in the way that it usually would, because we've controlled it on the paper towel. Cool. So that's like the set of 4 that I would say are good for controlling paint, and they won't cost you too much. This type of kitchen roll, it costs quite a lot, but you can find, you know, cheaper brands. So you might be able to find a roll for £1. You get all of the equipment from your for your wet palette, maybe in about the £5 range. This cost, depending on where you get it, between like £1.99 and £3. I think I got this for £2 from a shop. I just happened to notice it and thought it'd be a good purchase. So what's that? So those 2, these were £1.50 or £1 or £2. So let's say 2 for, let's say 5, so 9, and this another £1, so £10. You've got your set of equipment that will help you to control paint. And then for the last, so what have we done? We've had the makeup brushes, we've had the painting handle, we've had the wooden board, we've had the wet palette, the paint tray, the kitchen roll, and the pipettes, so we're up to 7. Got 2 more to show you. Just pop this back quickly, keep the desk nice and tidy. That's probably another important tip that's not part of the equipment list, but it's always good to keep a tidy workstation just so that you don't get too cluttered up, because a messy workspace is a messy mind. Okay, so the next part of this is all about cleaning your brush, or at least keeping your brush in good order. Just a note, a paper towel. I'm going to keep this on here actually because I want to talk about that some more. So, keeping your brushes clean. Mainly we're going to use these 2 things. These are the last 2 pieces of equipment, but this is important as well. Drawing the paint out of your brush, especially when you're finished painting, is really important. You can, once you've finished swizzing off your brush in the water, just give it a few dabs on the paper towel, and that'll help to draw out any of the excess pigment. Now, this costs £10 maybe, depending on where you get it from. I've seen it online for £5 as well. It's called the Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver. It is probably the best brush cleaning tool that you can purchase. It's a soap, right? So it's a brush soap. You can see here. I've had this since 2021, and I clean my brushes pretty much every time I have a painting session, and that's maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and it's still going. So let's say 3 or 4 times a week, times that by, what was it, 21, 2, 3, 4, times that by 3 years. So 4 times a week for 3 years, that's about 600 and something, and it's £10. So divide those numbers, and I calculated it earlier. I think it works out at maybe less than 1 pence per painting session for me to be able to keep this brush that I've had for maybe 3 years now, the same time as I bought this, in usable working condition. So this will really help you, keep your brushes clean and keep your brushes in working order. To use it, we put a bit of water on our brush. I'm going to just exaggerate the situation just by putting a bit of paint on here so you can see. So imagine there's a bit of paint left in our brush and we can't quite get rid of it. The paint has started to go up into the ferrule. That's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the brush in the soap, sort of mix it around a bit. Don't worry if there's any hairs that go a bit astray. And then we're going to take the brush in our hand, roll it in the crease of our hand, and then just start at a sort of 45-degree angle. Just start moving the brush in circles, just the tip of the brush in the circles like that. And then always doing this sort of motion here. And what that's doing is it's sort of encouraging any of the maybe dry bits of paint to come out of the brush. And we're just going to keep doing that. I'm going to put a bit more water on. We're just going to keep doing that. And you need to do this until the foam is pure white. I can see, probably can't see on the camera, but I can see there's a little bit of that green sort of blue colour in there. So we're going to wash the brush off again. Just going to take that off our hands. But, get a little bit more of this on the brush. And then just keep doing that. Okay, that's much better now since I've done that. And then just do this. That helps keep the tip in shape. Wash that off, just rinse that off in the pot. And then, I'm not going to be able to see this on the camera, but there's no paint left in that brush whatsoever. And it's got a nice tip still. And then we're going to take the brush cover that we had. You have to use your imagination. This is another brush because it's already got one on. So once we clean the brush, we're going to put the brush cover back on. Brush cover usually comes with a brush. And we're going to take the last tool, which I think no one's spoken about this before, and if they have, please let me know in the comments. The poster putty, blue tack. You'll see lots of paint kits that have maybe like an inbuilt water tray with brush holders and all this. If you're like me and you paint with your desk up against a wall, all you need to do now, put a bit of that poster putty there with the brush protector on, very important. Pop the brush against the wall just like that. And what that does, and it's very important to store your brushes this way, tip down but with the brush protector on, because it helps keep that paint out of the metal ferrule part. If paint gets in the metal ferrule part and dries, that's when you start to get brush splitting, so the hair's coming out. If you store your paint brushes up like this, standing on end with the brush protector on, gravity helps pull any of the stuff that's left in there. It'll take a lot of time and it'll just naturally just descend out of the brush. So next time you clean it, you may find, especially if you clean it at the start of your painting session, like sometimes I do, that there are little flakes of paint in there, and that's because the moisture that's still left in the brush from you cleaning it and rinsing it in the water and being stored upright, whoops, make sure that brush protector's on, and storing it upright, will be dragging that paint out down towards the base of the brush protector. Again, letting up against the wall is fine, or I'm going to try and angle the camera here so you can see, or if you have a shelf system like mine, handy shelf system, you might get away with sticking your brushes like that. See, no fancy brush holder. I think a pack of blue tack costs maybe £2, £3. So what we got here, £10 plus £3, that's £13, plus £2, that's £15, plus another £2, that's 17, kitchen roll, 18. Materials for this maybe up to £21, £22. This, another £2 on Amazon, let's say £3, so it makes it 25. And your wooden board, that was £1 if you donate to charity. Is that everything? Oh, painting handle. I mean, you can get a decent one of those for maybe £4. So that's up to about £30. Maybe €32, $35. And I just think, so let's see if I've remembered them all. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of equipment for maybe less than £30. I'm sure you can find your deals out there somewhere. That will really improve your painting, that don't break the bank, and will keep your brushes lasting longer, therefore saving you some more money that way. So I'd seriously consider, guys, going out and getting some of these bits, just trying them out, seeing how you feel about them. You know, as always, just make micro adjustments. You know, try one thing here 1 week, one thing there the other week. You don't need to start using these all straight away, and they are perfect platforms for jumping off to find more expensive equipment. There's no point in wasting your money on things that cost, you know, lots for what they are, and you either don't know how to use them because you're a beginner, are finding them frustrating because you haven't yet had the practice with them. These are your practice tools, and they can stay in your arsenal forever. I really hope you get some use out of these. For some of the bits that I bought on Amazon, I'll put in my description, in my affiliate link. Anything you buy in there doesn't cost you anything extra, but I get a little bit of kickback from it, which will always help the channel. And I hope that you've enjoyed this little glimpse into some of the tools that I use, to teach myself early on, and also now just daily on a regular basis. I'm going to go put this back in the fridge, and I'll hand over to the outro, Will, who'll be sitting on the chair, just to talk you through my other bits like Patreon and stuff. So thanks for watching. I hope you found that educational and enjoyable, and let me know if you purchase any of the stuff in the comments, because I'd love to hear your stories and how you get on with it. So thanks very much. See you over there. Thanks for watching. I hope it was interesting to see some of the equipment that I've used in the past that hasn't broken the bank but helped me learn and progress as a miniature painter. I hope that you take some of the lessons here, buy your own stuff so that you don't have to go and buy the expensive stuff first, and just get practicing with these basic tools. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, making sure to change the bell notification to all so that you get notified when I upload a new video. If you want to support me more, I have a Patreon which is linked in the description below. And just like these fine people, you can become part of the Paint Beast community that we call the Paint Herd. On Patreon, you'll gain access to exclusive content and a Discord channel that you can use to talk to me. And if you become a Beastcore member, you get a shout out just like these fine people. Andrew Maystone, Andy Smith, Gerard Barber, Gerardo Lopez Gill, Jake Trelaw, Jason Ozawagosh, Jeremy Williams, MC Van Wyck, Neil Buxton, Nicholas Paredes Carvajal, Rob Hassel, and Stephen. Anyway, that's it from me for now, so until next time, unleash the paint beast within and get painting that plastic.